Welcome back to Topic Mixer, where we discuss various topics on politics, religion, current events, and entertainment. I hope you enjoy this video, and if you do, please subscribe below and hit that like button. Today's topic is Donald Trump versus the Squad. So recently in the news, Donald Trump said, and I quote, and this may not be a direct quote, but he was basically telling a group of young ladies known as the Squad that if they don't like this country, they can go back to where they came from. Now, all of these young ladies are congressmen and American citizens. One of them was a naturalized citizen. In other words, she came from Somalia and is now a U.S. citizen. Of these four women, all three of them are women of color. One is Latino or Spanish American. Ayanna Pressley is a black woman. Ilhan Omar is black, Arab, and Islamic. And Rashid Tlaib is Palestinian. All of them are people either black or brown color. So the statement came off as racist. Now, there are several different sides to this. I'm going to try to get into this as best I can, detail-wise. Originally, the whole argument started between Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and over what was going on at the border. She visited the border. Her, Ayanna Pressley, Rashid Tlaib, and Ilhan Omar. They visited down the border. They saw what was going on. They saw children laying on the ground on cement floors. They saw children who had not had baths in days. They saw a hole in the floor, I guess was for the bathroom. I'm not sure exactly if that's true or not, but I know that for a fact that the other things that were seen at the border, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was seen visibly crying at the border as she saw what she saw. So were other senators that were there. And when she confronted Nancy Pelosi over the bill that was being passed to try to help the situation board, to try to feed more money into that program to try to help, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez wanted a tougher bill that would guarantee the health of the children at the border, that would help the situation at the border, and possibly get a lot of those people out of the detention center. Now, many of them are in those detention centers came through legal means. There are some that are there because they tried to illegally cross the border when they couldn't get through legally. Now, there are some questions as to how this is being done and what the situation is at the border. It seems that the border laws have gotten extremely strict at the border, and they're trying to avoid letting a lot of people in. It is being called a crisis because there is a large number of people trying to seek asylum in the United States. But this is not even the issue at hand that we're talking about. What we are talking about is what Donald Trump said about these four ladies. And it is, to me, very repulsive and ridiculous. Now, here's the other side of the thing. He is being defended by his conservative and Republican friends in Congress, and I'm sure other Americans. They're saying that the comment was maybe misguided, but not racist. And there are others who are saying that we too loosely use the word racism. Now, most of these people who are saying this are white. I'm sure there are a few black conservatives who are also saying the same thing. But their faces are not the ones being seen on TV right now. But basically, let's put this out there. So this is what he said. And I've heard this comment made before by other people. Why don't you go back to the country you came from? Why don't you go back there? Why are you complaining? So on and so forth. And it's usually directed towards somebody either black or brown. Mitch McConnell also got in on it and said that he disagreed with what the president was saying, but that the group deserved it because of how they were coming across talking about the United States and how they were coming after Trump, that they deserve what they said. So basically, His was a condemnation that was not a condemnation. There was Lindsey Graham, who basically said the comment wasn't racist, but that it was not a logical statement to make. It's called cop-out. Basically, they're cop-outs. They're guys who stuck their tails between their legs and decided to run. So yeah, I'm getting a little angry with that. Let's define racism as, it's supposed to be institutional. It's the deliberate attempt to block someone because of their race or their ethnic background and language. But there's also a thing called bigotry. And bigotry did happen and does happen. And Donald Trump has proven time and time again that he's a bigot. Just a week ago, Kamala Harris and Biden went in the debate, and of course she brought up an issue about school busing, which Biden voted against at the time. And she was telling how it affected her. Now, a lot of black Americans totally agree with it. Well, Donald Trump decided to come after Kamala Harris by saying possibly her citizenship is in question. Reason one, her mother's Indian and her father's from the Caribbean. Again, that sounds blatantly racist. Yet, Republicans have overlooked all of this and said the president is not racist and that he's making comments because other people are attacking him, and it's perfectly fine. This is the problem I've had with the Republican Party. You can't get my vote if you don't recognize a problem, and you keep trying to gloss it over saying, oh, well, maybe he shouldn't have said that, but it's not this. No. It is what he said. I'm sorry it bothers you. You talk about truth. You can't tell the truth. You lie about even Dr. Martin Luther King. You like to quote certain things. Okay. Dr. Martin Luther King was for equality. He wanted to change the income in the United States. He said it himself. The only way to fix the United States was radical economic redistribution of wealth. This came from the mouth of Dr. Martin Luther King. You can look it up. It's all over the internet. You can look it up at the library. He definitely said this. You can watch a live video of him saying it. So, getting back to the subject at hand, was this racist? Well, it was directed specifically at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ayanna Pressley, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, all of which are people of color. Ilhan Omar is especially his target because she's Muslim. She's made some statements that he called anti-Semitic. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't, but to me they aren't anti-Semitic when she's talking about issues of Palestinians where the rights of Palestinians are being totally ignored in the situation in the Middle East. Rashida Tlaib is Palestinian, so then of course you have an issue with that. Ayanna Pressley is a black woman, African American, yet you directed your comments to say go back to the country you came from. I'm gonna say this about Trump. His folks didn't come on the Mayflower, obviously. They're Scottish or Irish, one of the two. But what if I had made a comment and said to you, why don't you get yourself back on the Mayflower and go back where you came from? You'd be offended. Some people right now watching this video are offended by what I'm saying to you. What was said was offensive. At the same time, I need to talk about this. What's being distracted is the issues at hand. Healthcare. That's important. Minimum wage. Increasing the minimum wage. Important. And this bill that recently got blocked by one libertarian / Republican, Rand Paul. And the only reason he blocked it was he said we've got to do something about the debt. So I'm not going to help anybody anymore because our debt is getting out of hand. My greasy palms aren't getting greased enough. That's the way I feel about it. Libertarians are interesting. They don't want us to overpay for anything, including taxes. Some of them don't want us to pay taxes at all. They are definitely not centrist toward the government, and they probably would feel better if the borders were open, because that's an issue as well for them. But Rand Paul would block the 9/11 compensation bill that would help those victims of 9/11 who are still suffering from illnesses caused by the dust cloud that was formed after the buildings collapsed. That includes first responders and folks who were in the immediate area. There have been a lot of illnesses that have come up. A lot of people have died. Cancer has run rampant through parts of New York because of this. And it is of the utmost importance that this bill is taken care of. Again, these things are being ignored. There's a bill in Congress right now about minimum wage. It's being brought up on television, but it's not talked about. It's in the House. I don't know if it'll get past the Senate, since Mitch McConnell made a statement the other day, in including this statement about Donald Trump saying, "Go back to the country you came from." He said, well, the reason they're attacking them is because, hey, we've got to protect our the top 7% of our country that pays 75% of the taxes. So he's going to do everything he can to protect them. So he feels that healthcare will affect that. He feels that raising the minimum wage will hurt them. And definitely, he doesn't want to do any of those things. The border, well, he's in Kentucky. It hurts them because he feels like he can't get people to work. I mean, he feels like his constituents are probably telling him, "I'm losing jobs because the folks come across the border." Long way from the border. I don't know how it affects him at all, other than he's a senator, a 7%er. And that is the worst part, is the support that Donald Trump is getting for the statement he made. He goes to a rally. He mentions the name of everybody except Ayanna Pressley, because when he mentions her name, the crowd goes quiet. They chant behind him in the background for all of them, "Send them back, send them back, send them back." And everybody you see in the crowd is predominantly white. There's a few black people sprinkled in the crowd, but they're predominantly white. It does not bode well for the United States. And what they're saying is, if you don't like the fact that we get act this way and we treat you this way, you go back where you came from. No, let me explain something. America is supposed to be the land of freedom, opportunity, and equality. Those are the values we stand for. Those are the issues that's being challenged right now by who's currently in office. But this is not what's being talked about. What's being talked about is what's the truth and what's not the truth. Well, the truth is right there in front of you. If this is a country that says they believe in God, then it's, I love myself as much as I love other people, as much as I love God. But what you're proving to me is it's about me, and me. My money, my people, and my skin color. That's what you're proving to me. I don't like you because you don't practice my religion. You don't have my skin color. You believe in something different than I do. So therefore, you're not talking about the issues, and you're not American. I made this comment to somebody else before. I said, "Did you know what I see when I see pictures of lynching? I see Americans who call themselves patriots practicing their Second Amendment rights with the guns they're holding in their hand, while they've got another American who's losing his liberty and his freedom hanging from a tree." This is the irony of the United States that we face. And so when I see something like Americans saying "send them back," and I'm seeing that these are people of color, that you may not like their religion, you may not like where they came from, and you definitely don't like what they're saying, then I have a serious problem with that. And I think most Americans have a serious problem with that. Now, I hear it on the news. They're talking about the problem with the issues at hand is there's probably not going to be universal health care. Race is becoming an issue that will cause some people who call themselves centrist voters to vote against the Democrats. That's a scary thought. That America has not cured itself enough, or that America is so defensive that it would vote against its own good interest. Now, if somebody can't vote for the 9/11 bill, there's something wrong with it. Most Republicans would. There was only one Republican out of all the Republicans, so I can't blame the Republicans for that. They were trying to get that bill passed. They're trying to do something good, and I'm not saying they don't do anything good. They're trying. But sometimes they lack the understanding to do it the right way. Sure, I want my business to be successful. I want them to be capitalist businesses. At the same time, I don't want them underregulated, where the EPA has to clean up a $200 million spill somewhere in the United States, or shut a city entirely down because someone decided to dump toxic waste into our lakes, rivers, and streams, or just right out on the soil and not tell anybody about it. I want the internet to be free so people can express themselves as they do, like I do with this video. Not free as in money, but freely expressed. I don't want any one business or one company to have control over what I can say or do on the internet. That includes Facebook, Twitter, Bell South, or any of them. I don't want them to have that control. Google either. I don't think that's right. As an American citizen, as far as the Second Amendment rights go and all that, like I said, I just made my comment about how I feel about all that. Again, I want to come back to the topic about race. America, we've got a long way to go. If we got people who can literally come on TV and then they can defend what Donald Trump said. Now, if you don't think he's racist, you should at least think that was a bigoted statement. You should think that's horrible. Some polls out there say that 65% of you believe that was horrible. But the question will be, will that show up in November at the polls next year? And I got a feeling it just might not. America needs to search its conscience to decide where it stands on issues. And I'm sure I'm going to get some comments on here, probably on my Facebook account. By the way, I am on Facebook. It's called Big Al's Topic Mixer. If you can, please hit the like. And please come and join on Facebook. I am also on Twitter, Big Al's Topic Mixer on Facebook, on Twitter. You can join there. So, in conclusion about this thing, I'm finding those comments to be quite disgusting, terrible, and it hurts me to the heart, being a black person, to hear those kind of comments and hear people even try to defend them. That's the worst part. People I kind of have some respect for, I no longer have any respect for, because you're sitting there trying to defend these statements. I cannot defend that in any kind of way. It's un-American. To me, it's un-American. I can't tell you to go back where you came from. I'm sure the Native Americans are kind of confused about it when you say tell somebody to go back where they came from, but it's beside the point. So, again, this has been Topic Mixer. I've enjoyed talking to you. If you like this, please hit the like button below. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Hit the bell notification so every time a video comes up, you'll get the first chance to see that. Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of the week.